we are the Romantics. This is podcast number 6. Thank you for stopping by, and let's talk about stuff. Aaron,
what?
You gonna start with some with a film tip of the day?
Tips.
Some hot film tips.
Yeah.
Aaron's got a hot tip for you,
but just a tip.
Yes, just okay. Number one tip:
show us what it feels like.
do not post on
You show what it feels.
Reddit's filmmakers subreddit. Tip number 1. Tip number 2. I
feel like I've learned so much already.
Tip number 1 sounds like there's a lot of pain behind it.
Always wake up 4 hours early before your shoot. That way you can take your 2 or 3 baths if you need to.
But not if it's
and you
at
can study your lines.
8:30 in the morning, like we usually do.
I get up at 5 or 4:30.
Why?
But make sure
so I can take baths and study my lines.
Make sure that you don't have like shriveled raisin face before you're acting segments.
Right.
Aaron, I have a question for you.
Yes.
Just on the behalf of all the listeners and viewers at home that aren't here to ask this, but I know they want to. Why would you take multiple baths instead of a long, continuous bath? Especially, especially when you're trying to fit this in the framework of a few hours. Like, why would you not just stay
Does it have to
in
do
the
with the raisioning?
I will wake up and tell myself you'll take a 30-minute hot bath and get your head right, and then I'll start looking at a little Reddit and playing a little Candy Crush and realize that I've taken a 45-minute bath. I'll panic, I'll get out, not shower yet because I'm not ready to finalize my ritual yet. So I'll get up, I'll dry off, I'll go get a cup of coffee, and then think, what would go really good with this cup of coffee is another bath.
So wait.
There's a shower in there too, apparently.
Why would you take a bath and a shower?
It's not the beach.
I don't bathe. I bath my body to calm down.
I think you're using that word wrong. I don't think that word means what you think it means.
It needs to be used wrong.
You just sink it back a little. Do a little shampoo.
No.
Sink it back again.
You don't want to bathe inside of a bath unless that's your only option. That's kind of gross.
Not if you keep a clean enough tub.
Wear a lot of soap.
Still, you're watching.
Are you covered in mud and dirt when you get in every time, or why is the shower? Showering is something I think of doing at the beach.
He usually feels pretty dirty
to get the salt off.
This reminds me of that Christina Aguilera
song.
song.
You take baths to bathe?
Aaron, I don't take baths. I'm 35.
Oh, gosh.
Ever.
Okay.
So in another 20 years.
Yeah, 20 more years I'll start again.
Taking a bath is for relaxing, not getting clean.
I think that's your own definition.
I think
it should be everybody's.
I think it can do both.
I get relaxed in the shower because I have just the right in the face.
Yeah, I really want that because the water pressure in my shower is fairly weak. But I like the really strong ones that just hammer you because it's the closest I get to a massage. Now that I live by myself,
it's like that episode in Seinfeld where
he gets the elephant shower head.
Yeah, where Kramer's struggling with the shower curtain and trying to hold on.
That's one of my favorite episodes.
When me and my wife move into a new place, the first thing we do is replace all our shower heads to those. Get the ones that say high water efficiency. They're super powerful.
Okay,
because it's like when you squeeze the water hose,
Yeah.
I've never had
I'll do
a
that.
place with a weak shower.
Oh, every place I've ever lived starts out with one because they get build up inside them, calcium and lime deposits.
Calcium, lime, and rust.
Exactly. But it takes too long to soak it in there. You just buy one for $8 at Walmart, and calcium, lime, and rust, a can of that costs more.
I hate having oxydizzle in my shower nizzle.
But it works so incredibly well.
I just wanted to jump back to something that I forgot to make a comment about when Vincent said the raisioning.
Please do, Wes.
I thought of a horror film about
the raisin.
A guy who bathes way too much and he's always raisined and he attacks.
he attacks by just swiping across your face and it scratches you and cuts you with his printed skin.
He sneaks up on people who love to bathe, who have very nice, relaxing setups, and he raisins the crap out of them.
No, this movie actually does exist. The raisioning does exist. It's hilarious that you brought it up, but it really does exist.
Here it comes.
It came out at the exact same time as Thinner. It was supposed to be, how sometimes disaster movies are released 2 at a time.
Like 2012 and End of the World, whatever.
They heard Thinner was coming out. They knew what the Stephen King book was about, so they rushed to get this movie made. It came out within a week of Thinner.
What is Thinner?
It's the exact same plot line.
You never seen Thinner?
No.
A gypsy curses.
It's about paint.
A gypsy curses a man lose weight and he can't do anything to like put it back on, so he just like shrivels into nothing. And the reasoning's the same thing. The gypsy's cursed man.
It's hilarious that they called it the reasoning.
No matter how
has
much
to
he
be
struggles,
made up.
no matter how much he struggles, he cannot get out of the bath, and he just like, yeah, I made it up. It doesn't exist.
Man, I was about to go watch this.
You're a horse's ass.
You said
I was not even briefly fooled. I just wanted to...
Well, you've worked with me enough. I used to lie like that all the time.
You say that about those movies that always piggyback on other movies or whatever, which is a true thing that people always do.
Yeah.
One time we went to the video store to get this movie there was a Kurt Russell movie that came out and it had something to do with money something, and we went and rented this other movie and we literally thought it was the same movie.
What a disappointment.
We
thought it was going to have Kurt Russell and then it didn't?
No, it didn't. It had some guy that looked vaguely like it had some guy that looked vaguely like Kurt Russell, but it was not Kurt Russell, and it was the dumbest thing I've ever seen in my life.
I just want to throw Aaron a bone. That's not what that means.
What?
Because you gave that story a lot of flavor, that false movie.
Oh, the raisin?
And that made it really believable.
Well, thank you. I have a question, since we're talking about filmmaking tips. Does anybody here have any tips for memorizing their lines?
I didn't know we were talking about filmmaking tips anymore.
I thought we were gonna just flew right past that.
I've learned recently Aaron's being a dick right now.
No, but I know what you're gonna say. You're about to be a...
I've learned recently that if you look at them before the day that you're going to shoot, it helps really substantially.
Why would you not do that?
Aaron, stop leading me to insult you.
we have them typically 2 days.
We have historically. I work a full-time job and make lots of excuses for myself and never for others. But historically, we get our scripts just a day or two before we film an episode of The Romantics, and it's frustrating. But Aaron, like as much shit as I gave you, as much sugar honey iced tea as I gave you for the last script that we didn't get until right up
The day after filming.
Yeah, we're still filming that episode, and I still do not know my lines.
Exactly.
But I mean, if it were 5 days before and we were gonna shoot it and get it done at that time, then I would. Because I've actually read over the lines a bunch of times, but it's been a while.
Right.
I know the gist.
Vincent, when do you typically look at your lines? And try to memorize?
Well, whenever you send it, first of all, I'm just going to say, I remember the early days when we were doing this. We would get it like the morning of.
Yes.
I would see him like in the car.
It was never the morning of.
It was
always the
it was.
No, yeah, there was I think 2 episodes where like
1 a.m. counts as the morning of.
Well, no. As in like we'd get into the car to start filming, and Aaron handed me the lines. Like, all right.
Yes.
I only remember doing that for like one scene where we're all yelling.
You were so pro with pen and paper. We knew about rewrites a week in advance.
Well, that's pro stuff.
I'm right. Yeah, I typically know like writing a week in advance.
That's like a single thing though that was already written.
Yeah.
This is like being written every week.
Right.
I think it's pretty much been decided, like without being talked about too much, that the next season is going to be done before we release it.
Right. Yeah.
So that we don't have to stress ourselves out constantly.
So that we don't make everybody else miserable by making them wait for the next exciting episode.
Exactly.
We're sorry.
We're sorry.
Vincent, so when it-
At least it's not the Venture Brothers where there are years between seasons.
Yeah.
Well, you got another episode coming out within a month of the last one. You're welcome.
Actually, it's past a month now.
No, it's not.
This weekend will be a month.
Yeah.
Enough.
Yeah.
So Vincent, when it comes to the pen and paper stuff, when were you reading your script and memorizing it?
How
did you go about it?
Even with these, whenever you first send them out, I always just read through them, and then, or if not once, twice, just see anything that I might have missed, and then with the pen and paper, I don't know how many times I read through the pen and paper stuff, and then and I usually go back and just highlight all my stuff on the computer.
I think it's different too for pen and paper, especially for Vincent, because when you started doing pen and paper, you didn't know everybody the same way that you do now. Mm-hmm. So it's like showing up to a group of your peers doing the same thing, and you're like, I better know my stuff.
Yeah.
Now it's like we kind of hang out, and it's it shouldn't be this way, but it is. We kind of wait till the last minute. And
when this we have time to kind of go through and it's all very on the fly.
Right.
With the pen and paper.
You don't
stuff.
show up for one scene and do it right then. And,
Right.
Yeah.
I also feel like because like you're talking about the social pressure, there's also like a logistical.
Yeah, that's what I was just about
Pressure.
to say.
Because the script for pen and paper is a lot more involved. It deals with more characters.
Yeah.
They tell you more about what's happening on camera and that kind of thing.
Format.
And so when pen and paper, like one paragraph is me, and then the other two paragraphs are like Vincent, and then like
Would y'all like me to write
Card
in more
drives
of
up.
a strict format?
Huh?
No, not necessarily, but it's like informal, and I immediately identify the parts that pertain to me. So instead of like what Vincent was just talking about, where we're going through with highlighters and not really identifying what we're doing, I'm like, know it.
Yeah, and it's like in pen and paper when if we don't know our stuff, then we're just like wasting everyone else's time.
Yeah.
And with
Right.
for all of us to go out there, I really like 10 of us to go out there, then it's just a whole lot. I almost find it like rude in a way. Like us, if we're just meh, whatever. We'll just laugh at it, and then
And so the bottom line is if you're doing this with a group of people, be respectful and know your crap before you get there.
Sorry, guys.
You know what I'm saying? Like, know what you're going to do. Like,
Yeah.
Like if Vincent showed up to pen and paper and there's like 10 people waiting on him or 8 people standing there waiting on him and he doesn't know any of his lines yet, that would be really bad.
Which like sometimes we do. Like there's a couple things like where Aaron and I we would just mess up and then like whatever and then we just keep going and stuff. But if like the big group stuff, and sometimes it's not too bad because like by the end we have it all hammered down. But it's like those first however many takes takes we do. And then those could all just be wasted just because you don't know your line, And
Was this whole conversation engineered to point out to me how much I suck?
No.
Okay.
What you're talking about with pen and paper or whatever, you also have time. And we do this, I think this is the reason why we don't learn this stuff as early on with romantic stuff, is because when we get on set, there's 4 of us. 2 of us are usually like setting equipment up or something right away.
Right.
And then 2 people can go over their lines in the meantime. And then vice versa when we switch to another scene with 2 other people. Because we haven't done any scenes with like all 4 of us in it, right? I don't think so.
No. Well,
So there's always somebody that can be standing there looking at their lines in the meantime or whatever. And it's not like there's a lot of dialogue. It's a 3-minute long thing. So.
yeah, that's all.
And then for smack the microphone. Yeah.
Yeah. That's kind of a cowbell sound.
Yeah.
It gave a little ring.
I like it.
Or like one of those
Needs a
little
ball.
hollow
flavor.
wooden tubes they give you on the end of a stick in elementary school to snack on.
Yeah. So
The kids with impeccable inner rhythm.
my thing with learning lines is I change the lines every time.
Yeah.
And it's basically stuff I would say anyway, the way I would say it. So like what's hard for me and people that are learning scripts out there, this is very difficult, but one thing that I read about doing scripts, and people that do this stuff probably already know this. I've never been interested in acting or anything before, so I've never read anything about processes or anything, but you have to you can't memorize everybody's lines sometimes, so you just memorize your own and you memorize like the cue from the previous person's line that points to you kind of. So the hardest thing for me is when I have to start a dialogue.
Right.
Or when I have to follow up something that's not a question to me or something directed at me.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't make chronological sense in my brain if I don't know their lines really well too. Mm-hmm. So that's the hardest part for me. Yeah. Otherwise, I just memorize them like right when I'm looking at them. But
I haven't had that issue yet. I haven't learned the cues like you learn the cues, and I typically don't do that.
Well, I think for you shouldn't even have to because you wrote it.
Well, you say that, but it's still.
But we still change it up every time though.
Like you could ask me,
Yeah,
you could ask me specifics about any of those scripts, and I couldn't tell you. So after a couple of days, and even when I'm like the night or when I sit down to, do I have a hair on my face?
No, you're good. Well, you have a whole bunch
Yeah, I was saying you had a ton around
A beard, no hairs at all.
Never heard.
Rebecca after he's clean shaven. How did you do that?
Yeah, so when I sit down to read and learn my lines, I have a general idea of how things are going, so that gives me a little bit of an edge, but it's not like I inherently have all that stuff memorized.
That's strange to me because like if I write something, I always remember it. Like I think I can still remember almost word for word thing that I wrote when I was like 13.
Ready?
No, but I can't.
No.
I'd have to sit down and think about it for a second, but I could probably rewrite the entire thing right now.
False.
One Mississippi. All right, go.
Okay, so I wanted to ask Vincent about that last day we shot on pen and paper. Do you remember that?
Yes, I do. That wonderful night. Of course, I remember
Is
that.
this something that I don't even know about?
No.
What is it?
I was just, you were there. I'm just gonna ask him, like, when you showed up that night, were you feeling a little bit more casual about it since we had done romantic stuff? Like,
Yeah.
did you go through the lines that day? Because that was like the only time I remember you having like any issue like forgetting lines or something. It wasn't bad at all, but
Yes, it was.
no, it wasn't.
I was doing the sound. It was bad.
Yeah, I think I went over it a little bit. I think I went over it like the night before because that's what I usually go over the night before, and then because we usually don't show up until, I guess that time we showed up in the evening. So I think I went over some a little bit that morning, and then I usually read through it on the when I drive. On the way down.
That's good.
That's
smart.
Well, sometimes it depends.
Filmmaking with noobs. Read your lines while you're driving to the set.
Don't text and drive. Novel and drive. Yeah, I mean safely. So it's like the paper's up here, and then.
Oh yeah, that's much safer. That's
super safe.
That's way safer than any other way. I think
And
of
just
doing
do
it.
your lines on a transparency from elementary school and like stick it up on your window.
So your vision is always focusing one foot in front of you.
Yeah, just get like a.
You should put Android Reader on your phone and have it read it to you. Lipton looks confused and begins to run quickly south.
He starts actually doing his lines.
He starts
It sounds
getting-
just like the real line.
Totally messes them up.
They promised me cards.
Make me think of Portal.
And
now.
just like that was like in yellow parentheses. That was
Oh, you remember the text to voice that Starbucks had on StarbucksChristmas.com?
Didn't we talk about this like last week?
No, we
No.
didn't. We talk about it every year. So, what was it? It was
annual.
what was Starbucks'
It's-
Christmas website in 2000?
Oh, I forgot about those
It's
things.
Redigan.com.
It's Redigan.com.
It's Redigan.com.
They only did it 1 year, but they had.
Because they learned from all the horrible things that we use this
It was
tool.
the absolute best.
Okay, so
I completely forgot about that thing. It was hilarious.
Yes.
I think I sent you one even.
I think probably.
They had e-cards
Mhm.
that used a text to voice system, and you could choose a voice, and
Like 3 or 4 of them.
you could choose from a number of little Christmas characters. There was a snowman and an elf and some other little Christmas things, and their mouths would move in accordance with what was being said, and so it was this very personal little card, and you
Voices
could.
had a little bit of personality to them.
Yeah, they had different accents and things.
Yeah.
There were British ones, and so you could make them be as proper or improper as you wanted. And there was male baritone, and these different little characters. And so Aaron and I and some other people in our circle of friends, but we were the most prolific. I got at least 3 of these from Aaron. But we would make these cards, and of course there are language filters on them, but they also read phonetically.
Yeah.
So you could really, if you're creative, make them say whatever you wanted, and they would say them in these not monotone, but often like kind of cute voices, or they had like a really clean, kind of innocent delivery, and they would just be adorable snowmen with pleasant voices saying horrible things, like just absolutely chilling.
I'd like to say I would say some really disgusting things, and then I think I just stole it from you, but then you just followed up with MBF, MBBBB, so it was just
I think the first one that I got from Aaron was like that, and it creeped me out. It was like, what? He's speaking in tongues now.
Yeah, we figured out how to do delays. I don't remember what it was. It wasn't just spacebar, but it would be like, I remember
periods or something.
one of them was one of them was just like, and you could go on and on with these things. One of them was just like a 6-minute elf in a stocking panic attack, where it was like, I feel so alone. So much darkness.
I wonder if there's somebody out there in the dark corners of the internet that loved it as much as we did, but knew some programming skills, and they like took that website and preserved it.
I've done
I can't
so
find
many
it.
searches for free text-to-voice things.
None of them are as good.
If there are any text-to-voice e-cards that you guys are familiar with that we can do for free or very cheap,
That works really well.
please post them on our YouTube comments. If anything similar to what we're describing here, I will.
Well, there are.
We don't have a lot of things that we can give away, but I can give away my friendship, and I would be willing to share that with you.
It's horrible. It's not worth it.
Pretty true. Sorry.
Oh my gosh, it's redagain.com. Some of
Yeah.
the hardest laughs I've ever had. Like where I had. Never mind. Bubbles coming out of my bottom. I was laughing. It's like just large and text, and it's like looks like bubble gum coming out of my.
Oh, that's disgusting.
Okay.
It was kind of funny before, now it's disgusting.
Okay. Okay.
Vincent's blasting his mental power.
Have mindful. Okay. Have the writer who wrote Fight Club.
Uh-huh.
Chuck Palahniuk.
That dude.
Did you say Flight Club real quick?
Flight Club.
Nobody talks about Flight Club.
But the writer who wrote Fight Club wrote this short story called Guts.
Mhm.
And it's very similar to that. It's the most disgusting.
I can't read
Like
that author.
it's
He's amazing.
the entire time, like there's just like this almost this vomit coming out of your throat. You're just like he toured around. It's like that. It's like that. He toured around and reading it, and that there would be people who I think there's like people would pass out or like vomit as he was reading. I thought I was about to vomit when I was reading it. You know, it's like it takes about like 5 to 7 minutes to read. I think I actually sent it to you. I think I told you about it before. Thanks for actually reading it.
I was eating a chicken salad sandwich, and I was like, nope. Maybe later.
But it's called Guts. It's the worst and terrible thing
Okay.
because it talks a lot about a lot of like physical like I don't know what the word is, like just problems that this guy has that you actually like start to feel because he describes them so vividly and stuff. And it's just like
Now the story Guts, I know it's not extremely long, but it's I believe it's based on Berserk, the 1990s anime, right?
Yeah,
But
which
they-
is actually really good.
I'm not sure.
No.
It's not.
I don't know.
The main character, Berserk, is kind of a big anime. It's like a go-to anime for a lot of things. But the main character's name is actually Guts.
There's a passage in one of his books, Lullaby, that discussed. I had to stop after reading this particular bit of dialogue. It had something to do with mustard on a hot dog while talking about pedophilia or something. And I was like, well,
hand in hand.
I don't think I can
So let me ask you guys a question. Why did you guys read any of this stuff to begin with?
Because it's awesome.
Fight Club.
Shockworthy.
He's a very good author.
He's exceptional.
But he's writing about
Well, I didn't know what this like when I read mine. I didn't know what it was about.
like there's
I just heard it was
absolutely
just, crazy
there's absolutely
shock.
nothing about anything you guys told me that sounds in the slightest bit interesting to me
Well,
to read.
Well, I'm gonna.
They're also distilling down just like what made them uncomfortable about the books. They're not talking about the content, the story, the quality, the prose, how it was written.
He was talking about a book that was or a thing that was written to make you vomit.
Yeah, it was just like
Like, what's the point
Well,
of that?
it's like why go to like a haunted house or a horror house? You know, it's like it's being
I don't
scared
know, I don't.
necessarily. Right. I mean, I don't either because I hate being terrified.
I like scary movies.
But-
I think it's a neat experiment in just seeing what kind of responses you can elicit out of the reader.
You don't
I
think
that's
that
neat.
any of that stuff has anything to do with like trash in and trash out?
Yeah,
Like, if you read a bunch of that kind of
a little
stuff?
bit, but I haven't read anything since then. Nothing like that. I don't want to.
I can't go to haunted houses because if I know something is scary, it's not scary. If that makes sense. Like if I know I'm going,
it doesn't.
If I know I'm going to go into something and it's supposed to scare me, then it doesn't scare me
No.
at all.
Yeah, I don't get that.
It never has. Like it has to sneak up on me.
So you don't enjoy horror movies.
Horror movies. I've always said the reason I don't like horror movies mostly is because I can't find any good ones half the time.
But
They're
that
all
was what
crap.
So if you were to see a movie that you didn't know anything about that ended up being ended up being like a scary movie, would it still scare?
Mulholland Drive scared the shit out of me.
Wait, let's
Psychologically scary stuff scared me.
let's do a discussion real quick.
Yeah.
Scary movie and genre horror movie. We'll start with you because you were talking and I was actually interrupting you. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Sorry.
So what do you want to know?
Movies that actually are effectively scary.
Effectively scary or just good that fall into one of those categories. But you know,
It's a very difficult thing for me to even come up with stuff because the last time there's been very few things that I thought were
The Sentinel.
frightening as an adult. The Sentinel scared the crap out of me because it was the first half of it was subliminally scary to me.
Well, we didn't get to we got through 5 minutes.
Well, I've seen the whole thing.
No, I know, but we both attended.
That was a little bit of a weird scenario, though. We were I was moving into a house. Into a new house in this area, and Aaron came over and we spent the night together in the house when it had no furniture or anything in it. We'd never been in it before.
hot.
And so we watched it on my laptop, and I started noticing really weird camera effect things in the background and stuff, and it started creeping me out. But
Also,
that's
a little bit of a disclaimer.
weird movie.
He did upside down push-ups while I did regular right side up push-ups while on top of him, and then we
that was so confusing. It wasn't funny.
Yeah, I don't know what you just said.
I think you were trying to say we had sex with each other, but that's not true.
No, that's oh my gosh. I was talking about push-ups.
Sure, on top of each other,
With butts.
and yeah.
Push butts? Yeah, just bunch butts.
You know?
Well, not that I don't find that arousing, but I wanted to talk about movies.
Yeah. So anyway, the Sentinel was scary to me also because it deals with demonic stuff. So to me, growing up in a real strict Christian household, demonic stuff still scares me because of the content of it.
Well, you're cultured to feel like it's real.
Yeah. And so to me, when I watch something that's got a lot of demon stuff in it, I feel like I'm doing something I shouldn't be doing.
Like you're inviting.
Yeah,
Right.
I'm asking for it.
Yeah.
So it's scary to me for that reason.
them to just come out behind me and hit me.
I feel that's what you're taught.
Yeah.
Dan knows what I'm talking about. You do
Yeah,
too.
yeah, of
you-
course.
Yeah. So, we all grew up in that environment. So, you're conditioned to think that gambling is against the Bible. So if you play with a deck of cards, you're inviting demons into your life. So, kind of stuff. So to me, that stuff is terrifying just for the simple fact that I've been conditioned my entire life to feel like if I watch anything like that, I'm in trouble.
You're going to leave yourself vulnerable to demonic possession or something.
Right. So that's why that's scary. So to me, that kind of doesn't count as much. The kind of stuff that I think is terrifying are psychological thriller type things. So
Like Seven.
7 was pretty good, but it wasn't scary. It wasn't scary because
I guess it was just gross and sad.
Yeah, it wasn't. I wasn't immersed in it at all. I didn't feel like I was being scared by it. I was watching the other guy be terrified by what was going on, kind of thing. So
That's true.
it's very difficult for me to even come up with a film. Maybe if you guys come up with stuff I've seen, I might be able to comment on it. We saw The Ring when it came out.
That was the last movie that was supposed to be scary that I feel scared by. You see it enough, you get desensitized, and the thrills don't work anymore.
I had a terrifying Ring experience.
In real life?
Me too.
Yeah.
Did you share yours?
No.
It wasn't 6 days ago, was it?
No.
Okay, thank goodness.
Let's go around the.
I don't know. You need to leave. You don't have any VHS tapes with you, do you?
No, this was years ago.
Oh, thank
It
goodness.
is kind of stupid, but anytime I see a comment in the YouTube section that says something like talking about a boy named Johnny or something that just sounds kind of weird and it's a little bit long, I'll skip it.
Yeah,
I know it's
don't
one
look
of
at
those stupid chain posts that if you don't repost it in
If you don't read
7
this,
days.
you don't read this, you repost it,
I
your
read-
mother will die in 10 days.
I read one about Johnny where he went down to Georgia.
Sorry in
and,
advance.
and fought the devil with music.
Sorry to have
That's not
sent you
Johnny.
this,
Yeah.
but I had to.
To save my mom. Aaron.
My name's Johnny, and it might be a sin, but
No.
yeah, it is.
It's not Johnny.
Yeah, it is Johnny. The devil went down to Georgia. The boy's name is Johnny.
I think so. That sounds right.
It does not sound right to me.
Yeah.
Let's talk about movies.
So I can't think of the lyrics.
So-
One of my favorite songs, but I can't think of the lyrics.
So, what do you think? For you, what is scary with film?
I tend to like movie. I mean, this is kind of a go-to movie that people go to because it's good.
When they need one,
But they don't go to it anymore because it's not in the theater. But actually, I saw it in the theater not too long ago. The Shining, of course. Is
okay.
Is a really
Yeah,
exceptional
to
movie.
me, The Shining is a psychological horror.
Yeah, I mean,
that is scary to me.
it's a lot more psychological than most of what's being made now because
Right.
it's just like this constant feeling of tension and My friend Stephanie is very interested in film and told me some interesting things about a documentary that she watched. One of the things was that they moved components of the set around between scenes. So while you feel like you should be getting a sense of familiarity with the environment, like Danny's on his...
keeps changing.
Yeah, it actually changes, and so you can't predict what direction he's going to go. So you feel kind of like lost throughout the film.
That's a weird trick that I would never think of.
Yeah, very strange, very cool. I've seen a couple. I do like to occasionally watch horror movies.
Before you go on, let me ask you a question about the definition of this. Because when I think of horror films, I don't even think of The Shining in my head. Because I think it's because I'm so used to people being like, "Oh, there's this new horror film out, Saw," and so everything in my head
that's
is
just more gore.
Gore.
It actually does have a genre now. I can't think of what it's called, but it has a subgenre title.
Yeah, it's
now.
it's
People being dicks.
Yeah,
torture.
stupid.
Yeah.
Something to do with
It's
torture.
I consider
torture horror.
I've seen the first Saw. I never watched another one after that. I thought it was horrible.
You saw Saw?
Horror.
I saw Saw. I see Saw sometimes. I saw Saw. Who knows? So is there a difference, or are they both considered horror?
They're considered horror. I think
Okay.
it's a subgenre of horror. I think the thing that makes it horror specifically, I feel like horror
That's a weird word when you keep saying it.
deals with something. What makes those things horror and not just suspense or whatever is two things. One is malice. I mean, there's a malicious force at work, and that is ultimately that's the core fundamental. I think that's the scariest thing. Everything else is inevitable. Over the course of your life, you'll get hurt, and then you'll eventually die.
Right.
Sometimes it happens in unexpected ways. Those things can be scary.
Right.
What's horrifying is when something or someone
When it happens in a malicious way.
has the means and they want to do you harm.
Right.
That's scary, especially when you can't do anything about
Especially when it's in a scenario like in a film where you can't escape it. Yeah, you can't escape that fate.
it. Right.
Or you try to and you can't.
Right. I think the other thing is that when it's something that's outside of, because even then it could be serial killers and stuff. I think the other thing that makes a genre is when it's something outside of the scope of the norm.
Right.
So it can be supernatural. A lot of people refer to the alien films as sci-fi horror.
Right. I would agree with that to some extent.
And
for
even
aliens.
Saw, the guy is a gadgeteer that does weird things and has this impenetrable, strange persona where he's not even human.
Uh-huh.
I mean, he is.
Right.
But they present him as something else.
Yeah.
I think with horror, what horror was originally kind of designed to do, or what it just did naturally, it forced people to deal with the bleakness of human nature and reality. So science fiction was about trying to finding humanity, or exploring humanity in the far reaches of space, and dealing with all of those cool philosophies. Horror does the same thing, but it's always typically more bleak.
See, I always thought horror as as something as a scary, but in a metaphysical sense, some type of demon, some type of ghost, some type of alien or anything like that. But then something like The Shining, I always thought of it as a thriller, where where which would be different from a slasher film, which I would think of like Nightmare on Elm Street, or
So The Shining comes from the school of Hitchcock.
Yes.
It comes from it's a Hitchcock style.
Yes, that's what I think. I think of horror just as something just outwardly, Silent Hill or.
The Shining.
But in terms of pure content, I mean, those things are not so terribly different, because The Shining is about a supernatural force.
I guess right. I guess is a better way to put it. But I always thought it as
and it deals with demonic possession and stuff.
Yeah. I don't know. It just
and buckets of blood.
What was that?
And that red rum, that stuff good.
What was the new supernatural movie that came out that was the big new horror thing?
Paranormal Activity.
Yeah,
it's a fourth one now, right?
Yeah, I always thought that that type of thing is horror, or The Ring, or.
I watched 30 minutes of the first Paranormal Activity and I thought it was stupid.
Yeah.
See, I just had a conversation with another person whose opinions I take very seriously, and he loves all of them. So
Wow.
I don't know what to think.
Yeah. So
I heard they're scary.
I give up.
heard they're real scary.
I've heard that too, but once again, it's about like. Well, I won't give away the plot because Paranormal Activity is one of those that has like a big plot twist thing in it. So I won't talk about it
You
all
just
the way through
ruined
right now. Sorry, because I said plot twist.
Just go put a spoiler annotation on it.
Yeah. So, but anyway, let's go down a list real
Wait,
quick.
speaking of plot twist,
Go ahead.
I heard After Earth was the only M. Night Shyamalan movie that actually isn't marketed with his name on it because like the last like 3 or 4 M. Night Shyamalan movies that just
Because they've been flops, yeah. Like The Happening, where all that cool stuff happens.
Now, what was his involvement with Devil? Let's talk
He
about
just produced
Let's
it.
talk about Devil.
I haven't seen it.
He just produced it.
Yeah.
Did you see it?
No.
That was a horror movie, and I was entertained by it. It was not what I would call a smart
Oh,
film.
what's the synopsis of it?
Trapped on a nut.
Is it trapped on a nut?
There's some people trapped in.
What? I'm confused.
Like the movie about the giant peach.
I was about to say, is this like James and the Giant
James and the
Peach?
Giant Peach?
The horror version?
It's the sequel where it's just the pit, the peach pit.
Wait, once again, what does this have to do with
But
the
they're
devil?
also all in the
With
nut
what?
What
house.
does this have to do with the devil?
Nothing. We kind of went down a silly road, wearing our silly pants.
Slippery slope.
The devil is in Devil or a devil.
Oh,
Is he wearing Prada in this
makes
film?
sense.
I don't want to give anything away. Actually, could potentially be relevant. I don't remember enough about the movie to know what people were wearing. But I'm actually like sort of serious because part of the mystery is
Yeah.
like figuring out. Basically, there are people stuck in an elevator together, and if somebody dies.
Is the whole movie in an elevator?
Mm-hmm.
No, it's not because there are people outside.
There's
that
a
are
lot of it that
doing
is.
things, but a lot of it's in an elevator. Over the course of this thing, it becomes this ordeal that it becomes fairly clear that someone on this elevator is like tormenting and killing other people.
It's an elevator. It's this big.
Yeah,
who is it? Who dealt it?
The power is fluctuating, guys. Come on.
That's hilarious.
I was entertained. Again, it's not necessarily what I would call a good movie,
Yeah.
but
Well, there's definitely a line between like good and entertaining. Sometimes it can be both.
Yeah.
Sometimes it can just be one. I watch really terrible movies sometimes that are extremely entertaining to me.
There are movies that during the course of this podcast that I've said, hey guys, whatever you're doing, stop.
Drop and roll.
Correct, because you're on fire.
So sexy. Look at you.
I'm doing hip thrusts under that table.
No, he's not.
Now I need some.
No, he's just doing Kegels.
Kegels.
Devil is not on that list. So guys, don't stop. Never stop. Keep watching.
Other things.
Keep watching the podcast, and then when you're done, go back to some of the other movies that I've recommended and watch those because they're really good.
Let's I got a list here of the top horror films with 1,000 votes on IMDb. All right.
Do it.
Let's talk about a couple of these things. Number 1 is Psycho, 1960.
It's a good movie.
Right. All right. Number 2
Does
is
not fit our definition.
it does for me. Psychological.
He is
horror.
really weird.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's okay. He's outside the norm.
Yeah.
My yeah.
His name is
definition's not
And his
my
name,
definition.
that too.
What?
Dan said it doesn't fit our definition, but I was just saying Vincent's definition is not my definition.
And then second on the list of horror feature films is Alien, which I do think is a horror film, but I think Aliens is scarier. The
I
second
couldn't
one.
finish Aliens.
I disagree.
My mom tried to show it to me.
I
when was
absolutely love those two films.
Wait, Aliens?
Alien
or
and Aliens, both.
Aliens is my least favorite.
Really? It's weird because that's like when you
Well,
listen.
that's not true because Alien Resurrection is
Oh yeah,
dumb as
you
hell.
can't count those other ones though. I think 1 and 2 are the only two that count.
Aliens is I like that movie now. I didn't used to, but those Marines just ruin it.
They're goofy as heck, man. Like
Yeah.
they're a little over the top.
And I don't like
The acting's not very good.
I don't
by those
like
guys.
James Cameron's tilty trolley that
he
he does to try to get you involved in things.
Right.
But I do like the walls of slithery aliens.
Yeah.
And I like Paul Reiser. Actually, I think he's
Right.
a great
Yeah, he's
creep.
good in that. He's really
Yeah.
good in that. Yeah.
He's
So next on the list, third is Shining. The Shining. We talked
So,
about.
actually, recently, like I think I watched that for the first time in the past like 6 months.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
The original, right?
We talked about
Yeah,
that.
yeah, it's just so good.
It's good. It's really good. I mean, Jack Nicholson. Come on.
I'm glad you liked it.
Oh yeah, like and then I went back and rewatched that South Park. That was about it.
It's funny.
Made it even better.
It's funny how a lot of people know about these films too, but they don't know like how classic these things are. Like, I mean, that's a Kubrick film. so.
I will say, of the 3 movies that well, maybe not Aliens as much, but the other 2 movies at least, they were extremely different from what I expected, from everything I knew or had heard about the movie. Like when I saw Psycho and when I saw The Shining, I had a totally different experience than what I was prepared for.
Adria's never seen, my wife Adria, she's never seen the movie Psycho, but she's watching the Bates TV show right now.
She should watch the movie.
I know, I told her. But so she didn't get a lot of the little references and things in the show, or it doesn't have the same impact, I don't think, if you haven't seen the movie. Cause
does it happen between the first and second one? Or no, well, that doesn't make sense.
It's him as a child.
Oh, okay.
He's like a 16-year-old, and his mom is nuts.
Right.
So, I mean, it's like chronicling how he became crazy Norman Bates, basically. And he has in the TV show, he has a problem. Like, he blacks out a lot and does crazy things. But it's because it's because of the way he's been raised.
Like a repression.
Yeah, and his mom is crazy, so you get the idea that maybe he's got like he picked up a gene or something that's got some craziness in it, one of them frizzy looking genes or something.
A disad?
Yes, you got a disadvantage.
What else you got?
Okay, so next on the list is Diabolique, number 4, which I've never seen.
I've not seen
so
it.
I can talk about that.
Diablo
and then
3?
Diablo 3, that is a good horror film. That Deckard Cain, man, scares the crap out of me.
Deckard Cain.
Are you having a stroke?
So next on the list is The Thing, which I absolutely love.
Damn good movie.
That's one of my favorite old
haven't
movies.
seen it.
It's not even that old, but it's old to me.
I mean, for I think Vincent would consider that an old movie.
Yeah,
Yeah, I haven't seen
1982.
it. Yeah, I haven't actually seen it yet.
It's badass.
I've seen parts, like, I know it's the clown thing, and I've seen, like,
No.
That's it.
That's it.
Okay.
It's close.
That's it.
The Thing and it,
No, the thing takes place in like the Arctic Circle.
Oh,
It's the one they remade,
Still haven't seen
like,
it.
2 years ago? 3
That
years
was
ago?
actually a prequel.
Oh, I got this mixed up.
Prequel.
It's
Yes,
because
it
remember the Swedes have that helicopter and they try to
Oh, yeah, it
shoot
is
the
the
dog in
prequel.
first-
Yeah, it is the prequel.
It's in the first scene, guys. If you haven't seen it, I'm sorry. You'll get over it.
Swedish people.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, it is a prequel. I watched that in the theater, actually.
Okay, yeah.
And I liked it.
It was okay.
I don't think it was nearly as good as the original. Of
I'll
course,
watch.
but
I'll watch it. It's one
it's
of those
entertaining.
things I want to get around.
It's too Hollywooded up. Like, it's too movie makeup magic-y.
Kurt Russell.
Yeah, Kurt
Yeah,
Russell,
damn.
definitely. Yeah. So I think the thing is, a great combination of typical horror and psychological horror, because you've got monsters.
In science fiction.
Yeah, science fiction. You've got monsters, and you've got who is the monster,
Right.
kind of thing.
Or who
Like,
isn't the monster?
yeah, who's doing this crap? What the heck is going on?
Godzilla?
Kind of thing, huh?
Is it Godzilla?
No,
No.
it's not. It's the dog. So yeah. So anyway, I think it's a good one. You've seen that, right?
I haven't seen it in a long time, so I can't really
It's-
talk about it.
All right.
It's awesome. I saw it for the first time last year.
Nice. Next on the list is something Aaron's waiting for.
This is the absolute scariest thing in the world.
Jaws.
It doesn't lose potency at all.
Is that a
I'm
hor-
also terrified of things in the water, though.
Is it a horror film, though?
Yes.
Oh yeah, it's definitely a horror film.
Absolutely.
I mean, the monster's just a shark.
See, I would say that
It's just about a bunch of dummies that keep going
like
in the
a
water.
thriller film.
No, I think it's horror. I mean, like, Jaws is like portrayed almost as like a sentient monster.
Yeah, it's that bleak. Damn it, Dan! Don't do that again. What, were you doing that? Were you
What?
singing just now?
That was Vincent.
Hey.
Seriously?
Yeah,
I was just looking at him.
That was Vincent.
Ventriloquism.
That was
Or,
He
as
was
I call
throwing
it,
his voice,
ventriloquism.
throwing his voice onto Dan's lips.
Okay, now I'm gonna talk to
It wasn't the
Dan.
only thing I'm going to throw on Dan's lips. The rest of my body is...
I feel weird.
Okay, so anyway, Jaws.
But Jaws totally deals with that bleakness and despair that I typically look for in horror, where they're just stuck out on a boat on the ocean, facing this thing that's going to destroy
Yeah,
them.
I mean, they're confined. They
Life of
can't
Pi?
get away. No, that was a tiger, and that was not a horror film. But yeah, so that's the only film that
It's a different animal on the boat.
my grandpa
See?
actually went to the theater to see that when it came out, which he never went to movies hardly. I know of like 5 movies he ever would see in his whole life, and everybody talks about how that's the only film that they ever saw him get scared of. And when the first shark attack happened, he actually jumped out of his seat and screamed in the theater
Yeah.
as a grown man.
It's hilarious. That leg.
Yeah, he had a bone leg too. Yeah, and
Damn.
yeah, so for him to have done that in the film, of course, thinking about him doing that's hilarious anyway, because he's not like a film goer, you know. So
Right.
it's like it was probably a real experience for him. But I imagine that in the way that especially like a child would watch it, or like someone that's not used to film or something like that would watch something like that, and it would be very, very scary and
Well,
immersive.
that was kind of a first for most people.
Yeah, it was in 1975. So
He also saw Psycho at the
right,
drive-in.
right. Yeah, so so you have you seen Jaws?
No.
Have you? Oh
So-
man, you guys need to watch
Wait,
that.
Like I've seen like
you haven't seen Jaws?
I've seen like parts of TV Jaws.
I have,
You know, like-
I have a relevant line in pen and paper.
You have a halibut?
Really?
You have a halibut red roll?
So next on the list is The Exorcist, 1973. I hate that movie. That movie scares me because of demons.
I love the GIF where it has her like that scene where she's like
Just too much puking.
where she's just like hitting like back and forth like on the bed, you know, and it
I haven't
just
seen
in the
it.
background it goes, I whip my hand back and forth, I whip my hand back and forth, and they're just like popping up and down.
Oh man, I hate that song too.
What number is this? 7?
It's 7th Exorcist. So you guys have seen it, right? You've seen it, right, Aaron?
I have not actually seen The Exorcist. I can't get excited.
Oh,
I have a pretty big
goodness.
aversion to most horror movies.
Yeah. So you're
yeah.
not a horror movie fan either.
Not really.
Roseanne Barr checked herself into a mental
Now,
institution.
that's a horror movie.
Checked herself into a mental institution, or was checked into a mental institution because after seeing that movie, she thought that she was being possessed.
Are you serious?
I thought about
It's a scary movie. I would say that one's scary, but like I said, for me, it's hard for me to judge it on the merits of the movie because it's about demonic possession.
I've seen the
Right.
Exorcist prequel. The movie's called Prequel to the Exorcist, the one with the that Swedish actor who was in the Avengers and
Swedish actor.
Swedish, and he was in Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. He's
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
He's the father of the
Kierkegaard
one
or
of the main
something.
characters from.
Girl with the Dragon Tattoo was really good.
Oh,
I
yeah.
haven't seen the Hollywood one.
You've only seen the
I've seen the
the
original.
Switzerland one or the
Yeah.
Swedish one?
It was a little long for me to feel like immediately going and watching the second one. But
It is long. I think the whole entire thing's like 8 or 9 hours long for 3 of them, right?
yeah,
It's
which
long.
is still a lot
I don't
shorter
think
than Lord of
that's
the
a
Rings.
Swedish-
Yeah.
That's not a Swedish movie, is it?
It's a Swiss movie.
Swiss.
And it has Noomi Rapace in it from
Yes.
Yeah.
Prometheus.
The American one is really good.
Okay.
I haven't seen that one. So next on the list is The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari.
I don't know what that is.
I've seen
It's
it.
an old German movie.
Yeah, I've seen it. It's good, but it wasn't scary to me.
German cabinet
It's
makers.
1920, so a lot of people probably hadn't watched it.
Okay.
But next on the list, number
Nosferatu.
9 is Nosferatu.
Boom.
Yeah.
How'd you know that?
Because it had to be on there, and it's totally requisite, and they're not going to give it number 10 because it's like the most classic horror movie.
Yeah. So, yeah, you have anything to say about it?
It's really convincing. It's awesome. Have you seen it?
Yeah, I've seen it.
There are moments, like all of those movies. I watched a whole bunch of silent movies and early talkies all around the same time because it was just an interest that hit me, and they're weird because a lot of them are directed kind
That's
of
kind
more
of
like
what I did, yeah.
yeah, kind of more like stage plays.
Right.
And there's I watched Metropolis around that time.
Yeah,
and there's
I love that movie too.
There's that moment when there are people like falling in the machine.
Yeah.
He gets this vision of it being like some kind of god that
Right.
humans are being sacrificed to, and it's like
Is that when Superman comes in and sweeps in?
that's a different Metropolis.
Yeah.
G Money.
Yeah, and what's really funny about that scene too is how much makeup that guy's wearing and that face that he's making.
Yeah.
Man.
He is a little prince.
Yeah, I mean he's made up. He looks like a mime almost. He's got so much stuff on his face.
I think that's supposed to be like he's supposed to be really foppish because it's
Yeah,
supposed
yeah.
to be like a reemergence of Victorian.
Right.
What am I looking for here? Wealthyism.
Yeah.
What's
I
it
know.
called?
Yeah.
Aristocrat.
C.
Aristocraticism.
Aristocrats. Z. Those guys are really
Aristocracy.
Those guys are really aristocrats.
Aristocracy.
Yes.
Yeah, there you go.
What? Yeah.
Have you seen Metropolis?
Yes.
Have you?
No.
Let's
Have you-
watch more movies.
I know.
Have you heard the Kraftwerk
I have
song?
to be in certain moods to watch old movies.
That movie's long too, and it is a silent film.
I know, and I have to be in a certain mood for it. About Nosferatu, I think this is why I don't really watch many horror movies, because I like to see the brightness of life. And so, like one of, I think I'm pretty sure I've just encountered Nosferatu before, I've not seen, but I've heard of it.
You met the guy?
Yeah, early on in life, whatever. But the one thing I remember is in SpongeBob, there was an episode where someone's flickering the lights back and forth, and then someone's like, "Who did that?" And it looks back over, and you see this little hand,
It's a shot.
and it's like Nosferatu, and then he's sitting there, and then his mouth turns up into a smile, and he just sinks back out.
Oh man, Vincent has a SpongeBob reference for everything we talk
He does.
about.
It's weird.
That's amazing.
It makes me uncomfortable.
Number 10.
This show's awesome.
Number 10. The worst thing about SpongeBob is when it does those close-up real-life shots of things.
They're
so nasty.
The red and steady shot.
My point, I'm sorry, about picking up Metropolis and stuff was going to be the effects.
It still can be.
Sorry, the effects and things are obviously really obvious,
Right.
And in some cases, I don't think they really try, because they, consciously in their mind at that time, their craft and their resources are, their perspective is, well, the audience is going to know that it's fake, so why try to make it look real?
Yeah.
There are moments in Nosferatu, he rises, rises up out of this coffin, completely, his body is completely rigid and stuff.
Right.
And this movie's it's 1923,
22.
You don't see any wires, you don't see any breaks in the film, and there are a ton of little moments like that where it's just how the hell did they do that? And it's totally convincing. It looks awesome.
Yeah.
Also, Shadow the Vampire. I'm not a John Malkovich fan.
Really?
I deplore him,
Oh.
I think I knew that.
Wow.
I think you said that before.
but
I would deploy him in Iraq,
I would. Me too. Me.
but not in a bad way, just
Too.
in a relevant,
There's only
play on words way.
In a
No,
theatrical
there's
way.
only one way. It's cinematic way.
Cinematic way.
Uh,
With no ads.
200 points with disads way.
Yeah.
What
Yeah, your point.
is good? Is good.
No, but
about
I
Shadow
find
Vampire.
stuff like that a lot scarier. If we go back into 80s movies and stuff, full costumed and makeup things,
That's a
and
good
then,
point.
or I've seen this they'll have some little claymation monsters, and they'll have a lot of really 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 quick cuts to see it moving and stuff. I find stuff like that
That's kind of the thing.
scarier.
The thing
It's
is,
disturbing.
yeah, the thing is a lot like that.
CGI.
Right.
And that's a good point. I've actually had this conversation before. We're all pointing at Vincent right now. Don't stop, Vincent. That was a good point.
I think
So-
we covered this in episode 2, actually.
Really?
Mm.
Yeah.
We've talked about this.
Well, we talked
times.
about CGI, but not in relation to horror films. I think that CGI ruins horror films.
Yeah.
I believe that real special effects, costumes, makeup, monsters, puppets, all that kind of stuff makes it way cooler, way more scary.
George Lucas.
Just real quick, this is what I was thinking of when I brought up the horror thing. For people that have Netflix or access to a computer at home, which hopefully you do, there's a movie called The Pact. It's a fairly recent horror movie. It has I don't know the names of any of the actors. There's a girl from Mad Men in it.
Yeah.
But it's a really excellent, creative, good, low-budget movie with an unpredictable, surprisingly, because it seems like it's going to be really predictable, but an unpredictable plot.
Yeah, I still haven't seen this. You recommended it to me, too.
And it's got, I've noticed a lot of horror movies that deal with family and stuff take a turn for the girly
killing me.
toward the end these days. And this is a movie that doesn't do that. The ending is still satisfying, but it's still really, visceral and cool. So it's called The Pact, and I strongly recommend it.
I'm definitely going to watch that, hopefully. Maybe tonight, even. Tasha gets really freaked out.
Tonight, even.
I might have to wait till she goes to bed. But
One
I'm in the
never
mood
knew.
for that.
One never knows. Perhaps even tonight.
But do any of y'all read Reddit's No Sleep subreddit? Have you ever been on there?
I read Jordan's post on
No.
this.
The only time
Reddit.
I read them is when you send them to me.
Okay. Some of that stuff on there, I haven't been real active on that one in a while, but some of that stuff really, really bothers me. How are we on?
Don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it. Yeah, I kickstarted a book that was from one of those no sleep posts that actually might be turned into a movie
You've mentioned
here in
that.
the next couple of years.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it's awesome.
What was it called?
The book is called Pen Pal, and it's a 5-part or 6-part short story series on no sleep. I think it's like one of the highest rated ones on there. It's incredible.
I read like 2 of those parts of that thing that you sent me,
Yeah.
and I didn't get as much of a exciting feeling about it as you do.
Wow.
Maybe I'll check it out.
So I don't know. But again, I'm not into like horror stuff that much.
Read Stephen King though.
But Stephen King is different to me. It's like, I don't know. So I like Stephen King because of the way he writes.
Yeah, Stephen King seems less just overtly scary too.
Yeah.
And it's more like about story.
Yeah,
Well, that's
and
what this is. That's
his
the
is
same
like
school of
Stephen King is
storytelling.
like all of these. A reason that I like Stephen King is because of a long history of reading Stephen King, and all his stuff ties into the same world. So I like it for a lot of other reasons besides anything to do with horror related stuff.
I would like to know what Vincent's favorite horror movies are.
My favorite horror movie?
SpongeBob SquarePants, the one with Nosferatu.
Well, actually, one of my favorite horror things, I guess I don't know if it's horror, I just didn't say scary. Like, one of the scariest things I've seen was the first time I saw the angels in Doctor Who.
Oh yeah, the blind. What's it called? Blind.
The episode's called
The
Blink,
weeping, the
right?
weeping angels.
The Weeping Angels.
Yeah.
That's what the episode's called.
They
The
really good.
episode's
Episode's
called
called
Blink.
Blink.
Oh,
Yeah.
Blink. That's what I was trying to think.
Oh yeah. That's one of my favorite episodes.
That's the one that I always suggest people to watch first if they've never seen Doctor Who.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Yeah, because it'll hook you.
Good.
And it's a good one for like even if you don't like Doctor Who, it stands alone and is really really good. They really watered them down a lot.
Yeah,
know.
I
And
know.
at first,
And just, if you're not at the newest one yet, the newest encounter they have with them, and it's so dumb.
wait, is there another one after?
Amy and Rory's?
Yeah.
No. Oh, no. That's what I'm talking about.
I've seen that one. I did not like that
was
at all.
Stupid.
I didn't like it at all.
Dumb as hell.
Then they had the one with when Jorah Mormont was in that episode.
Jorah Mormont.
The last time they encountered him when there was like a ton of them, in that cave or in that
Yes.
castle.
I saw that
with
one.
Amy, and they get inside your eyeballs. Apparently now, that's
Yeah.
stupid.
Yeah, that one.
They really messed it up.
Yeah,
The
it's
reason that was so good is because it was simplistic before.
Yeah,
And
it
it was-
was just a scary concept.
Yeah,
and then
it
they
was-
turned him into a whole like alien race.
Right.
I guess it makes sense. Ties them into.
Yeah, I mean it makes sense in the Doctor Who universe, but it's not good.
Right. When you start over explaining horror, it loses all potency.
Right, and they milked it. I think they knew. I mean, obviously they knew that episode was insanely popular, and they were trying to milk it. So
Yeah, but instead
Bad
of
decision.
bringing back the angels, they should have brought back Carrie, whatever her name is, the actress that played not Roberta Sparrow.
I don't know all their names. I've only.
The girl that
Yeah.
played the investigative role in that episode.
Oh, we can't talk about that.
Yeah, I don't know her
We can't
name.
talk more about Doctor. It's just going to go for forever.
Yeah.
Your favorite actress,
No, I know who he's talking about.
Carey Mulligan.
Think of her name. Yeah,
Carrie
yeah,
Mulligan.
yeah.
Roberta Sparrow is the
She's not my favorite actress.
You
What?
told me that
character
so
from
much.
Donnie Darko.
No, I like her a lot. I never said she's not in enough stuff to be my favorite actress.
The lady from Battlestar Galactica, the diplomatic person, the president.
Yeah,
whatever. All look the
Laura
same.
Roswell.
She
Is that her
also
name?
looks alike.
You know, I met her in real life.
Did you?
In an airport.
Nice.
Yeah, me and Adria were going somewhere.
I
And
love the parents in that movie.
We went in this like little restaurant, and we were sitting there eating. It was a restaurant in the airport. Her and I guess her boyfriend, I don't think they were married, came and sat down at a table right next to us, like as far as me and Vincent sitting,
Nice.
but to the side of us. And it was like a long bench on a wall with a bunch of tables in front of it. So they sat at the one next to us. And I got up and I said, hey, like that, and that was it. Because I don't think they even noticed me, because I realized like 10 seconds after that her and that dude were in like a massive fight. And then like this 16-year-old kid that was obviously her son sat down, and he had like giant headphones on and was like doing some stuff on like a phone or a video game, something. I don't remember what it was.
So he was on some kind of electronics with giant headphones. He
Yes.
sounds like he looked like an idiot.
Well, he was blocking them out, and it was obvious, and it was kind of sad. Yeah, he did. But So he was like sitting there doing the stuff, and every time they would start griping at each other, he would kind of like glance up at him and just keep doing it.
Sucks.
He kept getting up and leaving, and they just kept fighting the entire time.
That's fucking horrible.
It was awkward even for us because we were sitting so close to him. And we were just like, I felt like standing up and being like, stupid movie stars.
Stupid.
What are you fighting about?
Having real people problems.
Yeah, what's wrong with you people?
Well, airports stress most people out. And for some people, it brings out the worst version of themselves.
Being at the airport is like moving for a day. It sucks.
Yeah, it sucks.
Um,
And if you have a fear of flying, it's even worse.
I'm depressed now.
Okay,
one of the reasons that was so scary because I was watching it like at night, and I have like this window that's right next to my bed where I watch movies from and stuff. And so,
You
Hold
on.
So wait, do you stand outside your house?
Or is there a TV outside the window?
Look in and watch. Well, I just imagine Vincent like standing outside shivering, watching a movie.
In his own room.
And there's a movie on TV, and it's like a Christmas movie, and there's like a roaring fire, and he's just looking like
a big ham and everything. I'm so hungry.
Now I'm so sad.
A Christmas story's on, and dogs are knocking food all over the floor off the table, and Vincent's crying outside.
What a waste.
Wait. We still haven't explained this.
Okay, so
What's the deal with the window?
Okay, because if I'm not sitting at my desk, I have my bed sideways where I can lay back on my bed and watch from the other side of the room on my screen. Okay, but so right where I lay back, like right next to it, there's a big window.
Okay.
And so it was like 3 o'clock in the morning. And I was tired, and so I was just like all loopy, and so I was like watching that, and it was spooky, and there was the window, and it was,
Wait, what were you watching?
I was going back to the Angels. I was full story going back to the Angels.
Oh, you were watching Blink?
Blink, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and that was okay. Well, that was it.
But it was spooky.
Yeah,
Did you see anything outside? Did you see shapes?
No.
Because I usually see shapes.
No, the story's gone straight to hell. In a handbasket.
All right, number 11.
Question. Okay.
Oh, I guess
how long is
I guess it hasn't gone straight to the.
It's huge. I said we stop at 10.
But question.
You don't control the list.
Wait, what was 10?
Well, let's do a vote.
10 was Rosemary's Baby, which we.
Okay. Well, here's
demonic stuff.
Would y'all consider Donnie Darko to be a horror film?
No,
I don't.
Why not?
because its goal is not to cause fear.
But it's scary.
I don't feel that way.
Scary.
There's a scary bunny in it.
It's okay.
Well, okay.
It's okay.
I don't think Donnie Darko.
So last podcast I've ever had.
Yeah, I don't think Donnie Darko's scary.
Did y'all see that movie Wolf with Jack Nicholson and James Spader and Michelle Pfeiffer?
I have not.
No.
It's fairly good. It's kind of like
Did you see?
it's like a romance thriller. Hold on.
Okay.
After Wolf was done
Okay.
and the big werewolf battle happens. I think I'm thinking about the right movie. Anyway, I got up no, this is a different time. Movie ends. It's about werewolves. I start complaining about chest pain. And my mom immediately says, "Aaron, stop!" And I said, "Mom, I'm being serious." And then I fall on the floor, collapse, and I start writhing all over the place and like trying to tear at my clothes and rip off my shirt.
Did you just do cocaine?
Hold on. And then, just ruin the ending. No, I did not do cocaine. I'm 11 years old. And so I'm ripping off my shirt.
Wait, now or then?
You know, some people can't see you, right? Some people can't see you, right? They might think you're 11.
I sound like an 11-year-old.
I agree.
And so she knows what I'm doing. She gets up and starts running to her room. And I decide to hasten my transformation. I start barking as loud as I can like a dog. On all fours, I take off, run to the couch, clear the couch, run down the hall, and leap at her. And she pulls up she's standing there, she pulls up her knee, try to like protect herself, and she shrieks out loud and pees her pants a little bit. I made my mom pee her pants.
I don't think like the importance of the story was that your mom peed their pants. I think the importance of the story was how weird you are.
No.
That's a weird thing to do.
Why?
Aaron's been trying to scare the crap out of people his whole life.
Yeah, that's
his
what
favorite
family
thing
does.
to do.
Yeah.
No, that's what you do. It's not what your family does.
You ripped off your clothes, started barking,
Yes, we all
and then
do.
ran at your mom.
Yeah. After watching a werewolf movie.
Is that not normal? Is that
we
not
watched a werewolf
normal thing
movie.
to do?
There's context for it.
Well, context doesn't make things normal.
That's not a normal thing to do, no matter how many ways you do it.
Aaron, everybody's abnormal. It's okay. There's no norm. Well, there are norms.
There is on Cheers.
Yeah.
And in Psycho. We
Yeah,
covered
Psycho.
this. We covered this earlier.
Yeah, they're technically Normans. They're technically Normans.
Are those ones that show up at your house?
Huh? What?
Man, I was gonna totally make a similar joke, but yours was more concise and therefore better.
Oh, that's totally bad.
You did it on purpose. It would have been
Totally
really good
missed
high five.
high
You missed it
five.
on purpose.
All right, so
I thought you were gonna miss it on
next
purpose.
topic of
You actually
conversation.
give a high five.
Let's do it again.
John dies at the end.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
You ruined it for me.
Sorry.
Nobody's ever made that joke.
John dies at the end.
How do you want to talk about this? Do we need to say spoilers?
Yeah, so if you haven't seen John dies at the end and you want to see John dies at the end,
We'll
spoilers.
We'll see you next time.
care.
Spoilers
It's not-
incoming.
Well, it's not like one of those. You're like, oh man, that was, that ending
The
was
twist.
so crazy.
You're ruining it for me right now. I haven't seen it, and I don't want to have it spoiled for me.
Too bad. You're supposed to watch it for this podcast.
Well, I didn't know that, or forgot.
All right, so we had to talk about it because we told people we would. So
I don't remember anything about this. Well,
John Dies at the End is the type of movie I think it's okay. I would think it'd be okay if you knew the plot and everything going into it before you watched it.
Yeah, there is no like plot revelations or anything.
Yeah,
Actually, I did not know anything about it going in and just watching it.
Yeah, I didn't.
That's
either.
why I didn't watch any trailer. I didn't watch anything for it. I
Me
just,
neither. I never even
didn't
heard of
watch
this thing.
That was fun. Yeah, I hadn't heard it before you mentioned it last week, but
yeah. I saw the trailer, but I don't think it gave anything away. It's not like it's hard to say because it is such a strange movie and it takes you on such like a
It doesn't matter.
strange dream ride.
It doesn't matter because we've said spoilers already.
Yeah, I'm not.
it's still buzzing.
I'm fine, Dan. Okay, so start over again. John Dies at the End. It's a good movie.
Don't start over. Just continue. We've already talked about it.
Okay.
well, I'm saying it's like there's not like a really overarching like plot structure that happens in most movies. You know, you have your introduction, your rise, your peak, and then your conclusion, or the actual I don't remember the actual terms for it. But this is kind of just like stuff happens to these people. Over like there's an element that there's a reason why all this stuff happens, but there's just kind of like there's not really like full set plot structure in the movie.
It is weird. It jumps around a lot. Apparently, the reason I wanted to talk about it is because I saw the movie. I really enjoyed it. And then I got on IMDb.com like you always do, which is kind of a stupid idea. But I started reading post after post from people that had read the book, and typically you'll find that people blast the movie because the book is so much better. But what people were saying about parts of the book that were missing kind of explained the problem I had with the movie. I felt like the ending was kind of abrupt. So it felt like there was some kind of plot hole there. I just couldn't figure out what it was. Something was missing. And so I kind of just, at a certain point, just told myself, it's a weird movie, just enjoy it for the strangeness. Don't watch it like you watch a normal movie. But apparently they cut out the entire middle of the book and like destroyed any kind of characterization with the two main characters. Like
I felt like the second character, the jock guy. I felt like he was kind of like a nothing in the film.
John?
Yeah,
John.
I kind of felt like he was nobody.
He had a face that made me laugh. Like every time he was on screen, he just made me just.
Yeah.
They just didn't want you to be upset because he dies at the end.
He doesn't.
he does not die. It's bizarre.
Yeah, I was expecting.
Well, he dies.
something to happen.
He does
Just-
die.
Yeah, he dies at.
But he dies in the middle.
Somewhere at the
Yeah,
beginning.
it's in the middle,
Yeah.
but then he's alive again. So it doesn't matter.
That's stupid.
Apparently, though, in the book, you find out that. Can we talk about spoilers from the
Yeah,
book?
yeah.
Yeah, we said spoilers.
Yeah,
Okay,
just-
so
yeah.
what is his name? Dave? No, it's not Dave. It's John, and then the main character. What's the main character's name?
Maybe it is Dave.
Maybe it is Dave.
Wong.
Wang.
It's
Wong.
It's Wong.
You can't blame it on the Wang.
Yeah, it's Wang.
Yeah, it was
Don't
Dave.
leave it on
John.
the
It was
way.
Dave Wong, right?
I think that's right.
Yeah, David Wong.
Apparently, you find out though that he dies at the beginning, and that the guy you are reading about in C is really kind of like a reanimated corpse or like an imposter put on Earth from some alien race, and he kind of becomes aware of that and has to deal with it. So
in the book, he thinks that he's still David, even though he's an imposter.
Right.
With that alien presence or whatever
it's
infecting his body.
I don't remember I haven't read the book, so I don't know at what point he finds out, but he apparently.
So it is alien. It's not like some weird interdimensional being or something.
I think so.
Like outer space alien.
But that's weird because if he's dead, because there's that whole scene at the end with Paul Giamatti where he's like, where Paul Giamatti is like his imagination. It's like his imagination creation of Paul Giamatti, and so he's not actually real. He's just like this.
It's what he imagined.
Representation.
Yeah, he heard his voice on the phone, and
Right.
he thought, oh, he sounds like a white guy, and he meets him. He is white, but then he finds out through talking to that character that he's a black guy.
He's dead and he was a black guy, whatever. But
so he's sitting in the diner talking. Sorry.
no, I was just saying that. I mean, how does
Is this a comedy?
It's goofy.
It's like Bubba Hotep. It's the same style.
Yeah,
it's directed by the same guy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it's basically this guy who's telling this reporter dude or this guy that's gonna figure out if he can help him write a book about it or something, his story. And his story is about getting infected basically by this black stuff that allows him to like see things that other people can't see. It's called the soy sauce.
Yeah.
And it like, I don't know. He sees all kinds of weird. I thought they were like interdimensional things of some kind.
I think so.
That's what they are in the movie.
Yeah, in the movie.
Well, they It seems like they kind of compare it to like hell on earth type of thing where they just like these beings you just kind of see if you're like thinking about death or like otherworldly things. You kind of see them out of the corner of your eyes. Yeah,
it's this big like Cthulhu-esque type monster.
That's what
it's like all-knowing kind of thing that's trying to come into our plane of existence.
What is that name?
I don't remember.
Gorak or something.
Gorak?
Yeah, I think that might be right.
Yeah, it was Gorak. Yeah.
So there's this whole other interdimension. There's this whole other dimension where these people like worship this thing and feed it.
Well, that was just the main. Supposedly, there's like a ton of these where they can, because now they have this like this. They almost have like these superpowers now,
right?
Where they can like travel in between dimensions and like. They kept doing this stuff where it got really, really, really cool. Like they have when he first eats those 2 big pills of the soy sauce, and then he has like he starts like tripping out, but he has this little monologue of like computer makes like can make like a trillion calculations in a second,
right?
And he's pretty much just like doing that and kind of like fading off and into like
experiencing time in a different
and like in a relative sense, and then you can start seeing him because he makes when he's talking to Paul Giamatti, he says there's this many coins and
37 cents in your pocket.
He can like kind of see where things come from. Then it shows into the bullet factory. He can like sees where that bullet. He just knows.
Yeah, he saw where it started. It got, instead of getting powder packed in, a fly like flew away and got packed in the shell.
Yeah.
So when he gets shot by the police officer, it doesn't have it's only the primer that fires the bullet, so it just bounces off of him. Right. It hurts, but it doesn't kill him.
I think it's because they make reference to like time, being this big.
Right.
C, what is it called? I think it calls like a C or something like that. But I guess like the soy sauce just like gives them the ability to just kind of like see all through time.
Yeah.
Almost.
Because it's like a bowl of wibbly wobbly timey wimey stuff.
Yeah.
I think that's how they actually. Yeah.
That's pretty much how they. Yeah. It wasn't. That's pretty much how they explain it. It's pretty much the same concept.
So it all starts with this reggae guy at a party who's doing magic tricks. He's levitating off the ground and people are flipping out because it's awesome. And then Dave meets him and doesn't believe him and ends up getting the soy sauce and becoming just like that guy.
John has, he accidentally gets it. Like John buys it gets it from the guy and then he has it.
Dave accidentally gets it stabbed into his leg by a syringe that he puts in his pocket that's full of it.
But I didn't understand a lot of the, because it first starts off like they're like these hunter guys, like these like monster hunters, and then all this stuff starts happening.
And you never really see that again.
I was disappointed in that. Yeah.
Yeah, because I think the first scene is him like picking up all these guns and loading these bags and all this cool monster hunting gear up and throwing it in the back of his truck or whatever. And
that felt like a giant mistake.
Then they never get back to that.
Well, I mean, it seems like that happens like. That all should happen after all of the stuff.
That's what I decided. At the end, I decided that must have just been like the end of the film, basically at the beginning. Yeah. So you wanted to talk about John Does at the end for a specific reason.
Yeah, because I found out how disappointing people that are fans of the book they still, from what I read, really enjoy the movie just because it's kind of a fun.
Yeah, because they made a movie about their boat.
Well, my issue, and the thing that I think is kind of neat to discuss and think about, is Hollywood has a format that they like to stick to, a certain time format, and they're constantly looking for new material. But as a nerd, we get excited about, you know, our favorite books or comics being picked up and turned into movies, and we're constantly let down. So I don't know, do you think at some point Hollywood is going to like shorten the length of their movies, like expand the length so they can include more? Like, nerds go to a movie, and I think most of us would, you know, pay our $7 and sit for 3 hours and, you know, watch a giant movie so we can have all those little details put in. Do you think that the big blockbuster fantasy movies that cater to nerds are going to kind of like
Get shorter?
go that route? No, get longer.
Oh.
Because the mass public, I think...
I don't think that has a single thing to do with what people like or don't like. I think the length of film has to do with a fat cat deciding he wants to write this much stuff or put this much stuff out there, and then nepotism, paying all their buddies and friends to work on the project and all their network connections, and it's a big Hollywood circle jerk.
Well, I don't know, because you see, Iron Man 2 is what, 2.5 hours long, almost? The Avengers was an hour and a half.
It doesn't matter to them. It doesn't matter to them if you watch
saying.
a film for 1 hour or 2.5 hours because you pay the ticket price to go in.
Well, except that the box office is now where they lose money and they make it on DVD, royalties, Netflix. So rewatchability, longevity, these things are more important now by a factor of a zillion than they have ever been in the history of Hollywood.
I think that's all still 100% created by hype, the amount of money that they make though. As far as like the mass goes, as far as the masses go, and the amount of people that go and see something like Transformers that have never even heard of Transformers, even know Transformers, it's all hype.
That may be the case, but I mean...
It's marketing and hype to make a ton of money.
If you were to satisfy your core audience that likes whatever the book is or the comic, and you give them all the details and you give them that world to kind of dwell in, doesn't that build the hype and build the word of mouth so that the DVD sales and everything that comes after would be more substantial?
Well, Batman, ridiculously popular franchise. All of those, the Nolan Batman movies. The complaint that I hear about the ones, the biggest complaint and one of the biggest forms of praise about the second and third films are the length. And I hear people say, I've had people say, it would have been good if it were shorter. I've had people say, there's never a way that you would make me sit through that movie again, which hits their DVD sales, or would if there weren't an equal number of people who are like, I'm so glad that they took the time to render this in the way that it deserves to be seen. So it is a factor for people, but I do tend to wonder if it's not... I do think the American attention span gets shorter and shorter. And so I think that there are going to be fewer and fewer people, because right now we're the age at which people are making and spending money. But as we get older and all of the little Vincents in the world grow into our shoes. What a world
that would be.
Then we will probably, like, movies are getting longer right now for us. They're probably about to get a lot shorter, like in the next 5 to 10 years.
I hope not. I love long movies.
Well, there's a problem in Hollywood with time and money. Like, they don't have... There's a big money problem in Hollywood. That's the reason all this independent stuff is coming out, and games and movies and everything.
And time translates very directly in money because of,
Yeah, so if these movies that they're spending $300-400 million to make, they don't make any money back a lot of times until way down the road.
Right.
And sometimes they don't even do that. In fact, a lot of movies these days, it's almost like they make a movie just to get enough money to make another movie, because they don't ever become like big. It's not like back in the day when you can make a movie for $50 million and make $200 million on it in the box office.
Right.
So it doesn't work like that anymore. And people are out of jobs in Hollywood. It's a dire state of affairs. I read forums all the time from like industry professionals, like film guys, sound guys, all this kind of stuff. And it is almost impossible to find work if you don't know somebody.
I think the direction that they need to go, that they desperately need to go, that I think would resolve? result in higher quality film, movies that I would be more interested in watching, that would, satisfy the requirements that we're putting down here, that would be better for the viewer, is to scale the budgets back, make movies for less, make quality crafted effects, pay people to be creative instead of handy.
Right.
And
stop paying for a massive studio that can make you all your computer stuff for you, and they pay $150 million out of a $300 million budget to do it.
Right. And I mean, I understand that people nowadays do not want to see, except for Vincent, don't want to see... No, this is good. This is kind of a compliment to you.
Oh, okay.
Because you can appreciate... We talked about this a little bit earlier, because you're able to appreciate like stop motion effects and that kind of thing. But not a lot of people want to see effects like what they have in The Thing,
right?
But we've had this conversation a zillion times, how props and miniatures and makeup are just better 90% of the time than digital effects, or 98% of the time, or whatever.
Right.
And those things are a lot of times a lot cheaper to make,
especially now with the types of tools and equipment people have.
Right.
Man, I mean, you could make like a CNC machine, or buy a CNC machine for an entire movie project that would last you the rest of every movie you ever made for $50,000, and you could cut out any metal object you ever wanted on a computer, and one guy could do it.
Right.
3D printing.
I was just about to
3D printing.
Yeah, 3D printing is amazing.
Why not use those things? To me, they're 8 million times cooler than
rapid prototyping.
Yeah. All kinds of stuff.
Did y'all see the little 6-minute video that was put out for Pacific Rim? It was Guillermo
del Toro.
Yeah, it was him talking about his approach to the practical effects in the movie. It's got a lot of CG, but it's also, they built a set for inside the helmet of the robots. They built that entire set, and those suits that they wear that are hooked up onto those giant mechanical arms, it's all real. So those actors actually had to be strapped in there.
They really got to pilot giant robots.
Kind of, actually. And it's built on this whole stage is built on like this machine that can just
right. That's the same thing they did in Prometheus. The cockpit of the spacecraft in Prometheus was 100% real. Everything was 100% real, and it was on a platform that a guy was standing on the side with a control. And so when they flew and hit turbines and stuff, they actually shook the crap out of all the actors.
That's awesome. Yeah, and then they had in Inception that scene where everything's flipping around.
Right.
They built this giant
the
hallway, this room thing, whatever, and then it just shows like what's his face is sitting there, and when it cuts off, he's sitting there, and then there's like those names, I can't remember. Those guys that are doing they're running this way. And you're just kind of watching it, and the thing's just like turning over on itself.
Yeah, there used to be a riot at Six Flags like that.
I want to point out that the effect is a little bit different because the intent is a little bit different, but that effect looks just as good in Singing in the Rain. When Moses supposes Toes are roses and they're running up the wall and stuff, they do the same damn effect. Like, how much money did that movie cost?
Yeah.
Hundreds of thousands of dollars to make.
Right.
I mean, granted, there's inflation and stuff.
But still, it wouldn't be.
It's a fact.
But that's a thing that you could probably do as cheaper now because the technology and equipment is
There's
better.
Kids on YouTube that do it in a cardboard box and it looks pretty good.
Yeah,
the cardboard gets soggy.
So the problem I think with what Aaron's talking about,
you do it outside, especially.
I think for people like us that are interested in more than just a commercial, a trailer, the hype, how computer graphically enhanced everything looks, which is like, it's like advertising stuff to kids. You know what kids want? They want candy, they want toys, you put flashy things on it. Companies spend billions of dollars on marketing to figure this stuff out and to figure out how to take what everybody wants right now and sell it to them, whether it's any good or not.
Right.
And so that's what they're doing with movies. In my opinion, everything in most movies that comes out is utter crap these days. It's really low quality to me. A lot of the dialogue is poor. A lot of the acting is poor to me. The special effects CGI stuff is not good a lot of times. It's just put in there because that's what people want to see. They're used to it. They expect it. It's just like normal now.
Well, it's like escalation. It's like a form of escalation because it has to be, regardless of whether or not it's a thing that specifically appeals to you, you want it to be more than the last thing.
Right.
Like if a movie is not full of like dynamic CG
Stupid
characters.
Matrix.
But that's fine. I mean, that's fine to want these things. I mean, like if I'm going to see a movie where things can't be done,
But they can be.
well, a lot of times not. No, I mean, like if I'm going to see Pacific Rim, I don't want to see giant
Ray Harryhausen
makeup stuff.
monsters.
Yeah, I want to see like
I do.
terrifying, like huge things that you just can't like physically do. You can't have something that big come out of the ocean, And so if they're gonna do it CGI, I want to have them do it well.
That doesn't have to account though for like every movie
No, what I'm saying, it's not
that
bad.
Hollywood is producing.
Right.
No, yeah, I'm not. That's what I'm not arguing. My argument. It's fine to want these things and to want to have it well and to want it to be done.
But see,
if they use it.
My
correctly.
argument is not that it's not okay to want those things or have those things. My argument is that it's the norm, and so they're just pumping the stuff out, and 95% of it is not any good.
And I think an aspect of that, or maybe another way of expressing the same thing, is that instead of having other movies in addition to movies like Pacific Rim that revolve around those things, because you're right, that's totally fine, but they could be making other movies like what we're talking about that focus more on just like appearance and quality and things, instead of making those movies for less and focusing on quality instead of flash. They're only producing movies that have what they perceive to be the requisite level of flash.
Right.
Like a movie can't just be like really, really, really good. It has to be like fucking awesome in all of the
everything has to
correct
be constantly
ways.
blowing your mind all the time.
Everything has to be constantly blowing your mind. Everything has to be in motion, and it has to. We've reached a level where if you're not seeing something, especially in science fiction action movies, if you watch 80s and 90s and even early 2000s action movies, one of the reasons that they're awesome is because you're seeing things that could happen in real life that you'll probably never see in your lifetime. But it's like, holy Moses,
and
that guy
they're happening in crazy connected sequences.
and that guy is swinging from a chain, being propelled by the shockwave from that building that just exploded, which is really over the top in Hollywood. But now movies all revolve around showing you things that are impossible, that you will never see in your lifetime, which cost more money to make, which are all like giant robots and stuff. But nobody wants to make movies about exciting things that happen unless they're so far out of the realm of reality that they cost gajillions of dollars to present.
And all of that stuff does cost gajillions of dollars because these companies that make these things are the only companies that can do these things for a film, and they can charge whatever they want.
TLDR, I love to be whisked away into a new experience as much as the next guy, but it doesn't have to be an experience that would be impossible to render in real life.
Right. And like you were saying, it's totally fine. I love the fact that we can have CG stuff now that is so amazing looking. But a lot of times they're using CG in scenarios where you don't need to use CG.
Now, but then
and it looks stupid.
There's another problem that might come up is when you're looking at a budget for a film and you have, so let's say I want to go to a location somewhere. That means taking an entire crew out to God knows where.
Which is what makes Game of Thrones good. Just throw that out there.
Right. Let me finish. I'm just wondering if that and also like building a set, like having however many people like build a set, whatever. I wonder if they actually do go in budget differently, the cost it would take for all of that versus an at-home set that's CGI.
You can look up tables of these things.
Right.
CGI costs
it's
more.
sometimes half to 2/3 of a movie's budget. It's very expensive.
Yeah, and it's not just the percentage. To have carpenters go to a location on the other side of the world and build stuff is a fraction because physical materials, and there are tables that you can go look at. Physical materials do have a high cost, but it's a one-time cost and it's not a persistent cost through the percentage or through the process of the film. So when they do CGI, they're paying by the minute. And a lot of times, everything that they pay per minute is many times the materials cost of building a set.
You
or
have
building
to
relevant
you have to
props.
think that the company that's doing the CGI, it's not like 2 guys, it's like 100 guys.
Well, when we saw
Right, when we saw Iron Man 3.
Iron Man 3, and also when we saw Star Trek,
Oh yeah, that was
they showed
which one was the giant block of?
that was Star Trek.
Star Trek. Okay, yeah.
Which was awesome. So, you know, but they also had a lot of carpenters and stuff on that list. But they probably both of those movies. But anyway, my point is, you know, they showed 30 seconds of actors scrolling by, and then there were 5 minutes of like little digital artists going by.
Yeah.
And all of those guys working on this project are getting paid
Right, a lot.
a tremendous amount of money for things that are happening.
And that doesn't
calculate.
even like the company has to pay them out of what they make for the project.
I'll also point out that it's third party, so there's a middleman.
Right.
So they pay a guy
To be the guy.
to pay a guy. No, they pay, and I learned more of this recently too from someone that works near me that does entertainment.
Yeah.
Is in the entertainment business a little bit. I gleaned. I didn't really learn. I gleaned, but the studio gets money either internally or from a producer or whatever. They pay a guy to get a broker to hire a company that hires employees and pays them to do those digital
It's
effects. And then in turn, they hire somebody else to integrate them into the film via a liaison with the studio. And there are middleman fees associated with all that stuff. There might be a third party involved, but to simplify things, like if you're at Universal or whatever, they just hire some effing carpenters and go make stuff.
And another thing about the cost that's happening in Hollywood, and like I think of Hollywood like all the stuff you're saying, like our government. There's just all this unnecessary crap that's being paid for that shouldn't be being paid for. We don't need all those people to do the same project. And another problem is you were talking about versus going somewhere and filming. Actually, a lot of companies now are going out of the country to film because of taxes. And so when they film inside the country...
Because of Texas?
Because of taxes. So when they film inside the United States now, it's becoming ridiculously expensive to film anything because of taxes. And so they're finding cheap locations in other countries to film things just to be able to afford to even make the film in the first place. So you can look those up online too. Just type in film taxes. It's a thing.
Just to play a little
big
bit
thing.
devil's advocate, like let's say
a good movie. I love Keanu.
let's say that they were filming something, and they're making changes all the time. They're constantly like redoing stuff, and if like you have a pre-built set that they want changed, they have to go back and rebuild everything.
Yes.
Whereas you can't just like go back in and digitally alter some stuff.
But when you're paying,
I know.
by the minute, and the
But
square
I'm
foot.
sure it just has to be easier
To do which one?
to do the second one
The digital?
digitally. Yes, to do so
I don't
many
think it
things
is.
easier.
It might be. It might
That's
have
what- I mean,
been.
that-
It
I
might
don't
be
think-
easier if it was one guy, but it's like 50 guys
Well, I mean, I
doing like
easier.
one project.
Yeah,
I don't
go
think it
back
is
and rebuild
because
stuff.
I know a guy that can make you an entire set of kitchen cabinets in one day. One guy.
That man is
I love that guy.
Yeah, I mean, there are carpenters that do this kind of stuff for a living. You got a crew of like 10 carpenters. First of all, each carpenter's not making $200,000 like everybody on the digital team. You know, the carpenters are probably making way less than that. And they go in and they build a set using wooden nails, you know. So it's not...
Just to be clear, I completely agree with like y'all. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm
Oh, I know.
on
No,
y'all's
I know.
side.
Yeah, I know. So...
I mean, the evidence is just that before... I remember so much discussion. The two things that I remember about Jurassic Park, besides the movie, were discussion about whether or not it was appropriate to take your 13-year-old because it was scary.
Right.
There was a lot. I saw a lot of news stuff that was like, may not be okay for your kids to see Jurassic Park because they might pee themselves a little. But the other discussion was the cost. It was like nothing anybody had ever even heard of. And as those technologies, and Terminator 2 also,
Yeah.
and as those which looking back, like does not have that much CG.
Yeah.
But as those technologies have improved, it's been this level of escalation that's prevented the cost from ever being offset. And the cost of movies now is exponentially higher. And I'm not exaggerating when I'm talking about an actual exponent in front of that movie. You know, you've gone from
behind the movie
millions of dollars to hundreds of millions.
Minimum 150 million for any kind of big movie. Minimum. And typically more like 300.
And that's just, and here I think is where we're running into the problem is, you know, Hollywood won't take your movie seriously if it doesn't cost $150 million.
Yeah.
And so it's a status issue where they're like, man, well, I guess we got to get some CG in here to hit the $150 million mark. But if you can make a good movie for $80 million, just do it. I'll watch it. If it's good, if it's not, then I'll get on a podcast and I'll talk about how it sucks.
District 9, 60 mil.
Really?
$60 million, District 9.
Looks
amazing.
A hell of a lot better than
dudes in mocap suits.
Yeah.
Yep.
Some stilts were involved.
Yep. It was amazing. That's one of my favorite movies of all time just because of that.
Awesome looking.
I mean, that whole catfish scene, the catfish robot.
And you know, they did their casting like an old school movie where they talked to people and decided on an actor that they wanted.
Right.
Instead of just bidding for whoever would.
Yeah, it was a dude that never did anything before.
And it was successful. And he ad-libbed like 80% of his dialogue.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
It was amazing. I mean, I don't know how good of an actual actor he would be in anything structured, but that was amazing. Turned out amazing. And I can't wait to see the next thing from that guy.
Elysium,
yeah.
When is that coming out?
In the future.
You can only watch it in Elysium.
It's also about the future.
So, you got anything for next week, Aaron? You want to talk about? Anybody?
I'm jealous.
Anybody got anything about next week? Anything you want to talk about next week that we want to promote? Or that we want to provoke discussion over?
Provoke.
Vincent's pro-poking.
I'm anti-poking. Discuss. Leave your comments below.
I'm neutral on the subject. I don't care one way or another. Poke or don't poke, I don't care.
I'm going to start a franchise about it where we're like a bunch of little animals that battle each other. Poke. Emon. Pokemon.
So poke like a hooligan?
Pokemon.
An Emon?
I don't have any topics of discussion or any questions. Jake asked a question about a prop from the commercial we did.
Yes. Beautiful Lady Aaron dress.
Yeah. It was Wal Mart. We went to
yeah, let's talk about that for a second.
We just went to Goodwill. Couldn't find anything that would fit.
Everything at Goodwill had brown stains on it.
Did you taste any of them? Because sometimes they're good.
Oh my gosh.
I refuse to. Go ahead, Aaron.
About that.
Actually, as I was trying to put on one of the dresses, some of the fabric like brushed against my lip, and I got a little sick.
It makes you think of that Kevin Hart thing that was on Saturday Night Live where he talks about did you see that? You know who Kevin Hart is?
I love Kevin Hart.
Yeah, he's so hilarious.
He's so
he hosted Saturday Night Live, right? And so he had a bit at the beginning where he talked about how he went to the sandwich shop and he was like sitting there. He had a sandwich on his plate, and there was a guy sitting a couple of tables away that also had a sandwich, and the guy was just sitting there kind of eating the sandwich, you know? And he said this bum just like walked in from the street and just like walked up to that guy and just like put his hand on the other half of that guy's sandwich. He said the guy just kind of looked at him, he was like, "Man, what are you doing?" And he said the bum just sat there with his hand on it. He's like, "Well, you can take it now. I'm not going to eat it." So the bum took it, and Kevin Hart said, you know, now that bum, he had to practice that because, you know, that ain't the first time you done. You don't just walk and put your hand on a guy's sandwich. I mean, he probably had to start out with like a finger, you know, like a quick touch or something. And eventually he got this technique down. And he knew it would work to get some free food. And he said, then I started thinking about it. He had to walk back by me to get outside. I had my sandwich halfway in my mouth, and I got terrified all of a sudden that he might just try to snatch it out of my mouth. And he said, you know, tell him what that bum's got on his hands. I mean, he might flick my lip or something when he goes to grab that sandwich. So I just stuffed the whole sandwich in my mouth real fast.
Yeah.
That reminds me of him talking about like him practicing.
Yeah.
It reminds me of Zach Galifianakis when he's talking about that guy rolling by in his pickup or whatever and being like, 2
Oh,
pussies.
I say that all the time to Aaron. That's one of the funniest things I've ever seen him do.
He's like, what's the cutoff?
Yeah.
18 pussies.
Yeah, that's a pretty funny skit. But yeah, so Aaron tried on dresses at Goodwill, and then we went to Wally World because we couldn't find any, and we searched around in the big ladies area.
Yeah,
because
you're guaranteed to find any size you want there.
yeah, Walmart has all the sizes. Quadruple XL size
You gotta cater
27.
to your audience.
There was
Walmart has bras that frighten me. What I'm afraid of is becoming lost in the
brassiere.
Dan was lost in the brazier forest.
Yeah, so we had to go to like the changing area, and Aaron was like,
Sea of cups and pads.
yeah.
So we're definitely bigger than C.
so we go to the place in Walmart where you try on clothes, which there's only one fitting room, and it's right in the middle
I
of the
think you
women's
like
area.
it, yeah.
No, there's one fitting room in Walmart, and
There's only one fitting room.
it's in the women's area. And I said, Aaron, it's right here. He kept walking off. And I was like, Aaron, this is the fitting room. I come into Walmart all the time. This is the fitting room. It's the only one.
The one that I go to, it's in the women's area. It's in the very middle of the women's area.
Yep.
There are 3 doors,
Right.
and 2 of them are women, and then one of them is men.
These are all just whoever. They lock them. They're locked, and then they unlock them for you and let you in them. So they have like little things on the door so they can tell when they're occupied. But so Aaron goes in, and as soon as Aaron walks out, being as paranoid as he is, he's got a hat, he's got a dress. He's got shoes, right? I think that's it.
Shiz.
A couple of dresses. And he walks up, and the second he walks up, there's a lady working a little counter there. And he's like, these are not for me.
No, I didn't. I said, I'm going to try these on. I'm not a creep or a weirdo.
Yeah, that's
or
right.
anything.
He just instantly said that before the woman ever even really
These
looked
are
at
not
him.
for me, but I'm going to go try them on anyway.
Yeah, so anyway, he goes inside.
My wife has the exact same build as I do.
I had a conversation with the lady at the counter.
I just want to point out that if any of our viewership or listeners are transgender, I don't have a problem with that.
This is Texas, though, and that was Walmart.
True.
So, yeah.
Just for context.
Everybody in there is like super country, so they look at you funny. But so he's in there, and I'm having a conversation with this lady about what we're doing, like we're making a commercial and we do stuff on YouTube. And he goes, what do you guys do? She said, what do you guys do on YouTube? Because my son watches the YouTube. And I was like, well, he probably hasn't seen it. I mean, we're not real big or anything. We make like a web series and
Aaron's
stuff.
kinda big for a
And
girl.
she's like, well, what's it called? Because he watches all kinds of YouTube. And I was like, it's called The Romantics. She goes, what's that about? Is that like a soap opera?
It's a little bit.
And I was like, it's just like a show about private investigators. And she's like, oh, well, I'm going to ask him if he's seen that. And I was like, okay.
What if it's his favorite show?
That would be funny. Funny.
Mom, you met those guys?
Mud, are you 10?
Yeah, so anyway, we had a long conversation while Aaron was trying on ladies' things. He wouldn't even come out and show them to me either.
I would have been naked with the dress around my neck. I couldn't get over my
That's
damn
the way
shoulders.
women wear dresses?
I'm going on your next trip to Walmart.
I might have accident. No, that was at Goodwill where I ripped the dress a little bit.
Don't take Aaron shopping.
It wouldn't go over my even one shoulder. I tried to force it in there and it went.
Aaron's looking at dresses. Every dress he gets, this is the way he checks to see if it's going to fit him. He opens it from the top and looks at how big the waist is from the top. He decides, okay, maybe I can fit in that. Nope, doesn't even go over his head. So anyway.
I like it.
So did you want to respond to Jake about your beautiful garments?
Yeah, I said I got it at Walmart.
Oh, so
That was his question.
so Jake can just go to Walmart now if he wants to pick up a dress of similar fashion.
Ross has comparable deals in a broader selection. They might not have all the sizes.
Do they have dresses that fit men?
What did I just say?
Well, that doesn't answer my question.
They had a broader
I don't
selection.
know.
and
They might not have all the sizes.
No, they.
I don't know. I don't know.
I don't understand.
So
I don't understand.
Yes,
I'm not wearing headphones.
I know.
Sorry,
Yeah,
guys.
Walmart definitely has a bigger size selection.
They don't have a very big clothing selection though.
They didn't. Yeah.
I think Aaron found like maybe 2 dresses.
They have a lot of backpacks right now.
They have. Yeah, their styles were not great.
No, they all look like potato sacks.
Big burlap sacks.
Remember that? They were all just kind of like
They were-
square.
They looked like Sunday clothes that your granny would wear.
Maybe
Exactly.
20 years ago. But you
If
know,
I was-
I've said this all along that like in the realm of fashion, the average person in the South is always like 5 years behind everybody else.
I've never
That's
understood
more
that.
than 5.
Yeah, it's in more than
Yeah.
5.
Well, it depends on where you're at.
5-teen.
Says you.
1987.
I look good all the time.
I think it even may apply to like the rich areas too. Like they're like a little closer to modern, but they're like a weird Southern version of it.
Maybe. I don't think you can say that about Dallas, though.
I don't know, man.
Small floral prints are still very popular in Dallas.
I sat in the Frisco, very very upscale area mall.
Would you describe it as
For-
posh?
Yeah, for a long time, and watched everybody that came through there, and I would say that they're still behind.
Yeah.
Are we really talking about fashion? Like we know.
Yeah, we are.
Like,
Well, I mean, I know what
we
people
know
wear. Like on
fashion.
typically stuff on media is what promotes fashion. So
Yeah.
you know, people here are not caught up to what's on TV yet.
Right.
So, anything else? Anybody got a topic you want to discuss next week? That we
Fashion.
can propose?
Question.
Fashion.
I just would love
The David Bowie song.
to read a line from John Dies at the End. It was easily my favorite line. He goes, "Are you familiar with the old human saying, I want to shoot you so bad my dick's hard?"
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
I didn't think it was
The guy's
funny,
like,
but
no.
it was, like, so eye-rolling.
I started laughing so hard.
Yeah, no.
Oh my goodness.
I'm not familiar with that one at all. Yeah. Any topics? Let's pick a
Okay,
topic
what
for next
about
week.
for our board game fans? Any favorite cinematic board game that would tie into love of movies?
What do we have planned for the future of board games, Wes?
I'm going to talk about that in just a second. I have one specific question for everybody. We're going to try to format the podcast just a little bit. We're still going to keep the freeform stuff going, but we're going to add like a couple of segments that we do regularly. So if you have a suggestion for a type of segment you would like to see that's related to the kind of stuff we like to talk about, please leave us a comment about that. And then we'll take those into consideration and see if we can add a couple of regular segments that we do, just to sort of drive and direct the conversations a little bit. As far as the board game stuff is going on, Vincent, our local D&D master, is going to run a D&D 4th edition campaign on Twitch live.
Yeah.
We have signups.
Live.
We have signups for the campaign available on the website. I will put a link in the video here at the bottom so you guys can click on it and check it out. And then we're also planning today. Somebody hold that up. Our GURPS characters for our GURPS session. So we're going to be Vincent's holding up the GURPS basic set book for the listeners.
I'll never get this one back.
So
LOL.
these are on loan from our previous GURPS GM
They're not on
Tony.
mine.
Our former
I-
friend.
Our previous
possess
GURPS GM Tony, our friend.
Should have hired Van
Yeah.
White for this.
So Vanna White, do your best Vanna White impersonation right now. Did she do that?
No.
I don't remember that part.
That's mean.
Vanna White is a nice lady.
She can't help who she is.
I don't know. She's
No.
nice. She might be super mean.
Yeah, no telling.
I don't know.
She's
I never
way
met
taller
her.
than Pat Sajak, I know that, so he's probably the mean one.
She's really blonde.
It's an inferiority complex. Gotta
You don't know if he has it.
I bet he's so
be. I can tell by looking at him, Dan.
No.
I can tell.
He does have a lot of sass.
Yes, he does. So yeah.
Fast Jack.
So our GURPS campaign, hopefully starting in the next 2 weeks, we're gonna change this table up for gaming. We got a television we're gonna mount on top of it, so that we have a graphical board here that we move our characters around
A
and stuff.
transforming board.
It's amazing. Yeah. So and it's gonna be sci-fi, space opera-ish based setting. And yeah, so that's coming up. We also have a board game that we filmed last week that's getting edited, hopefully for this week to put up. We played Dungeon Run. So
Be sure not to.
I always hated that picture. I hate that
Yeah,
picture.
that's the one Vincent was talking about earlier.
There's the skill or the disadvantage kleptomania in the GURPS book has a fat black lady stealing candy bars.
She's white.
She's white
She's
racist.
What?
She's white.
That woman looks black.
She looks. Turn around. Can I see?
That woman looks black to me.
Okay, I can see the misconception.
I can see it.
Okay.
Anyway,
Yeah.
profiling.
Yeah, it's very odd. There's no other picture like that.
No, but well, I thought it was
Profile?
funny at the top. But go back to the picture. Go back to the picture. At the top,
Oh, there's a.
read the skill. What's
Lame?
Yeah, the top. The skill is lame, and it has this big woman stealing candy.
This disadvantage
What is
assumes.
Oh, she's stealing food.
It's
Yeah.
for kleptomania though. on the
Okay.
side.
I know. I didn't
Yeah,
see
but
that
at the
for-
top it
all I
says
saw,
lame.
like at first I saw lame. That's on the picture.
Yeah.
I was like, what?
The description of lame. This
Lame.
disadvantage assumes that you are a member of a race with legs. If your entire race is legless, see no legs. What?
That's ridiculous.
That's
This is a
different.
very involved system,
That's
ladies and
different,
gentlemen.
yes.
Kidding.
Yeah, GURPS is a system that you play if you want to get super detailed or you just want to create your own thing.
Which book has John Noble on the front? You know what I'm talking about?
I don't know which one that is.
The one with
Or
the
he's-
wizard and the pistol?
He's
Yeah.
purple.
I don't know.
He's like purple or blue or something. He's like it's supposed to be a demon, but it's obviously like a rendering of John Noble as Denethor from Lord of the Rings, and he's like, "Wah."
That's hilarious. What a ripoff. All right, so we're going to get out of here. We'll see you guys next Wednesday. We should have a Romantics episode coming out this next week, or this weekend, this coming weekend. Finally.
At long last.
Yeah, so barring weather and other crazy things that tend to happen around here. Yeah. So we will see you guys next Wednesday.
I just want to go back to, I've been thinking about the entire
Too late.
I've been thinking about the entire podcast.
Okay.
The boy said, my name's Johnny, named by BSN. I told you once you son of a bitch, I'm the best there's ever been.
Find the mountain, barn boys,
Okay, so
ladies and gentlemen, we have been the Romantics.
Yeah, thanks for hanging out with us. We'll see you next time.